everyone, it's Farrell Klein. You're watching another Supernatural review, and this is season 14, episode 15, Peace of Mind. If you're new here, I do a recap and review of every single episode of Supernatural, so let's get into it. This is a good episode. This was a good episode, and it was something that was a little bit on the back of my mind, but it wasn't so like, oh, we're in season 14, like it's coming up. But then when the episode started, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember this episode. Yeah. So this episode, Sam and Dean were split up, which doesn't happen that often. There's been a few times, and I don't know, I'm trying to think if I feel like they usually are pretty good. Maybe the last time we had it, it wasn't good or something, because I remember something like that. But I feel like it was good and it was strong, and usually I would say that when they're split up, maybe Dean is like the A plot line, but in this, that was the B plot line. It was Sam. And usually we see like Dean and Cass team up, and this was like a Cass and Sam team up. I don't know if we've ever seen that with them two team up. And I don't know if it's something where they were always planning it to be Sam and Cass, or if they originally were like back and forth considering it, and then they ultimately went with Sam. Or, you know, I wonder if they like wrote a Dean version, because I feel like I feel like I could have seen either brother. I feel like sometimes when we have these, you know, I would say this was an episodic episode, even though it had, you know, the Beeb storyline was a little bit more serialized, which we'll get into it. But when we have these episodic episodes where something happens to one of the brothers, and in this case it was like Sam was brainwashed or whatever, like it, sometimes I'm like, okay, it makes sense that it was this brother, it makes sense that it was this brother. So but I felt like for this one it really could have been either one. So I really do wonder if they like wrote it, or like how far they thought about which brother it would be. I think it does make sense that it was Cass, because they need the angel thing, and I do think they, you know, I don't know if they like were always like, maybe they first were originally thinking about this idea with like Dean coming along, and maybe I don't know if they were like, maybe Jack's not in this episode or whatever it might be, but then I think it'd been too much if both of them were brainwashed. Like I think that would have been too much, so it makes sense it was only one, but in this case then it was humans brainwashed, so it had to be the angel, so that's why it had to be like us with one of them. Anyway, but it was nice to see Sam and Cass together, because again, I don't know if we've ever had like this team up the way we've had this before. Obviously they've had scenes where it's probably just the two of them, but like this team up in this way where they're doing a hunt together, and it really was a fun episode. Funny. I feel like it was something which we haven't touched in a while. It wasn't a monster, it wasn't a ghost, it was something a little bit else, so that was interesting. I always like it when it's a little bit like, what's happening? I'm a little bit confused, like how's the story get here? You know, I thought Jared was so funny acting as that version of Sam. I don't know exactly. So yeah, it was a good hunt and everything like that. And then they had the Dean Jack storyline, which wasn't as strong, but it wasn't necessarily bad either. It just wasn't as strong, so it's probably something weaker in the episode, but that's usually, sometimes the B plots are a little bit weaker. And so it's something where they're trying to figure out, Jack has, you know, his soul, what can he do? He's now all this stuff. And so I don't know if it exactly made sense to go to Donatello. I feel like they needed something, so they're like, let's do this, Donatello soulless. I don't know, I feel like we didn't like, well, the last scene, but before I get to the last scene, it wasn't like anything really happened or move along in that. It was kind of just there. And then it is really shocking at the end that like Jack kills a snake and Cass saw that. So it kind of like, it does, you know, we don't see this a lot. We've seen this actually more recently, I feel like, where a Supernatural episode ends on a cliffhanger and you're like, what happens next? I need to know the next episode. I need to know what happens. So yeah, I feel like it was a good episode, well-rounded. It felt good to have a more episodic episode. I feel like it was well written, well acted, lots of things going on. So not much to critique here. So I'm going to end it here. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.